same way we're supposed to be raving about not aborting your brain children. A lot of people have aborted their brain children, and it's always beautiful.
Just expound on that thought, and get people to feel the emotion of it from a modern day perspective, not necessarily from a down you are the loveliest of them all perspective. How did that idea come to you?
I honestly.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of the Storybook series. Super excited to have you here. I'm glad to be here today again because I have an amazing guest, Boluwatife David, the author of the book Focus. Good evening, Bolu. Good evening.
Good evening. Good
morning.
Hi.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for obliging. I'm super excited about your book, Focus. Today we're going to be getting to know more about him and why he wrote the book, and some sweet orange lemonade juices in this book. But before we begin, I wanted to read a brief bio of the short version of Mr. Bolu's profile. He's very, very vast in a number of things, so I'm super happy to have him here. So Boluwatife David is a certified neuro-linguistic programming practitioner, a certified high performance coach and trainer, and a member and resource person of the Institute of Strategic Management Nigeria. He's the author of Focus, the Ultimate Guide to Achieving More, the founder of the Focus Life Inner Circle, and the convener of the Focus Life Summit. At present, the CEO and lead consultant at High Performance Consulting, a management training consulting firm dedicated to performance management, staff optimization, corporate training, and recruitment. Good evening again, Boluwatife. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Yes. So I'm interested in finding out why a trainer would decide to write a book. I mean, you're already training people to be high performers and all that. Why did you feel compelled to write your book?
Okay, so thank you so much for that question. I think that one of the major reasons why I wrote the book is simply because I consider a book, as a medium of transferring your knowledge or your information or your message to people. So because I understand the fact that there are some people that would rather read than listen, I decided to package my message in a book. So I generally like to say to people that I am only one person with a message looking for the best medium or channel to express it. And the book happens to be one of those channels.
It wasn't very difficult for you to find out what you wanted to write about when you actually thought you wanted to write it.
No. It wasn't difficult.
Why so, though?
Yeah, so like I said, my message is clear to me, right? I know exactly what I'm about. I know exactly what my message to the world is. So putting it in a book was almost like, bringing what already exists into a different form or format. And the truth of the matter is that the things that actually made up the book Focus was actually a manuscript that I used in coaching a group of people for a month. So after coaching those people for that period of time, remember, it is more like people started reaching out for that same manuscript, and then wisdom came to me to repurpose it. And of course, I converted it into a book. So for me, it wasn't like, I want to write a book, what should I write a book about? It was more like, I have a message already that I want to push out, and I felt, okay, what medium would be the best medium? What would be the best medium? So I just opted for that.
Okay, so how long did it take you to do this transfer of content from the program to then finally putting it together, and finding new wisdom to put it together to compile the book? How long did it take?
I think, interestingly, I think this book project would be one of the shortest projects I've ever worked on, in my life, because the entire book itself did not take more than 2 weeks, right?
Wow.
To put together. Yes, it did not take more than 2 weeks to put together.
So is it because you're a focused person, or because the message was focused, that they took that short amount of time to get it done?
Well, at the time, to be honest, at the time, I did not have a lot of things going on for me at the time. One, but be that as it may, I dedicated an ample, portion of time into ensuring that I get it done. So I think at the time I was doing maybe about 4 hours every day, into putting the content together in a structured way to produce the book. That's pretty much what I did.
So it's really interesting that you say these things. Reading the book is actually quite eye-opening. And there are a couple of things I found quite interesting reading the book. One of it is Bada Meinhof. What? But I'm like, is this Africa? When is this a typographical error? That's what I was thinking. But then it now continued, and I'm like, okay, this makes something. So tell us about Bada Meinhof.
So
what language is that?
The pronunciation is Baden Meinhof, and it's actually what language is that? I think it's Latin actually, right? And it is actually a word that is used to capture, maybe the English way to put it would be frequency illusion, right? A situation where you begin to see stuff within your environment simply because it was suggested to you by somebody else. So for example, I know that we all must have experienced that before. It's a situation where, say, I come to you now and I say to you, Ibukun, do you know that it would be great for you to start using say a Lexus ES350?
No, say Range Rover Vela.
Okay, so let's walk with your Range Rover. I told you that,
Vela,
right? Okay, so you know that it would be great for you to start using a Range Rover Vela. And you're like, really? What does that look like? And then we look at the pictures together. And in that moment of looking at the pictures, it triggered a particular emotion in you. What would happen then is that by the time you get on the street, you begin to see this vehicle a lot more, right? And generally what people say is that a lot of people are using this car, or maybe some will say that it's God speaking to me or something. So that is what Baden Meinhof means, of frequency illusion, where you begin to see something more simply because it now aligns with the repository of what is in your heart. And what that means simply is that I generally put it this way, that even though we look with the eyes, we see with the mind. So the challenge wasn't, or the issue is not that you have not been seeing that particular car before that time, but because it wasn't part of what you were looking for, your mind was just deleting it off the table for you. But the moment you accepted that, this car looks like something I would love to have, it enters into your mind, and then your eyes begin to take conscious, recognition of it. But let's say when that person came to you, let's say when I came to you to discuss that car, you discarded it. No, I don't like that car. I don't like it. You will still go back outside. You will look at it, but you will not be registered in your mind as sin, because you will continue to delete it. So the idea of that then, when it brings it into the context of focus, is that a lot of times our mind is focused on a number of things, and our mind has deleted a number of other things. So for me, the journey of focus is first from the mind before it is external. So, one of the things you discover when you read the book is that I talked about focus in 2 ways: tangible focus and intangible focus. Yeah. So
don't talk too much about it. We need people to go and buy the book. So just give them the juice so that they can
take for instance the Baden Meinhof concept is one of the things that falls into the category of intangible focus, right? Because when you hear the word focus, what comes to people's mind is, oh, just focus on what you are doing, don't be distracted, focus. But the truth of the matter is that there is no way you can focus on what you're doing externally if you are not first of all focused internally. So internal focus would always precede external focus, so that is the concept that that brought about the abandonment of into that story, pretty much.
So interesting. And while we're still on this topic of focus, one of the things that I interestingly saw in the book is that there's something that's being too focused, or what's it called, over focused. Or let me I want to read this portion of the book so that we can get this. So there are times we exert too much energy on getting something done, and we over focus our focus. Sorry, am I reading this right? On getting something done, we over focus our focus to points that we started having blurred vision. I apologize for my reading, so I'm going to read that again. There are times we exert too much energy on getting something done. We over focus our focus to the point that we start having blurred vision. Now, the reason why I'm having trouble reading this is because I actually have an eye issue that makes some things blurry for me. And I remember going to the doctor's place, and when she was analyzing my eyes, she said to me, she put something in my eye and she said, "Oh, can you see through this?" I said, "Yes." She removed it. She said, "Can you see through it?" She said, "You're actually not supposed to see through this because we're supposed to blur your vision. But your mind has retrained your eyes to look through that thing, so you are seeing farther than you should see." And that for me was very interesting because I was like, well, I'd squinted my eyes so much. I'm not wearing my glasses now. I'd squinted my eyes so much that I was seeing beyond what, and I was straining my eyes. So when I saw you talk about this, I'm like, oh my God, this reminds me of what the doctor said to me about being over focused. Can you expatiate on that? It's quite interesting to think that, if you're focused, so there's something that's being over focused.
Okay, so let me give you an example of something that generally happens to people. So I'm sure it must have happened to you before, where you are looking for something. Let's say you are looking for your house key, right? You searched everywhere, and then at the time that you give up on searching, you discover that the key has been in your hand all the while. Now, one of the things you find in preceding portion of the book to where you read was where I was talking about, what I call giving up on trying to find something, or something like that. And generally, when it comes to life, right, there are times that we can be too focused to the point that we begin to lose the things that are really important. Right. So for me, sometimes the way to achieve a goal is to give up on trying to achieve it. Because when you notice that you've tried too much, you've tried too much, and you're not achieving it, maybe that is the time to give up. And then, when you then give up, you then discover that you found what you're looking for, then you achieve what you're trying to do. So that is what I'm trying to say in that portion where I was saying that, see, sometimes, and when I was writing this book, I also took time to study, the way the camera lens works and all of those things, to use it as a foundation for the understanding of the concept of focus. Because focus in itself, comes from, adjusting the aperture, adjusting the light, adjusting this,
ISO.
where it gives you ISO and all of those things, to the point where it gives you the right image. So sometimes, right, the issue is not in the focusing in itself. The issue is in the how, and how we are combining different things, and to the point where it's already giving us blurred vision, that all that we are seeing are the things that are in our mind, and we cannot see stuff. So I explained it this way, that there are times that what you need to do is, first of all, expand your focus, then narrow your focus, right? If your first approach is to narrow focus. Most likely, you are going to be missing out on a lot of ingredients that will make it possible for you to achieve what you want to do. So that's why in camera we have prime lens and wide angle and all of those things. Because before I will be able to choose, so for example, let's use this thing that you're doing as an example. The moment you decided that you wanted to write a book, you want to be the book midwife, for example, right? You opened up your mind, right, to a lot of possibilities within that framework. Now, based on your opened mind, right, you got a lot of options of the different ways you can package this thing, right? Now, after looking at all the merits of your option, you now pick maybe 2, 3, right? Which these video sessions is one of them. And then you now focus on, okay, now that I've been able to pick this, let me now focus on it to get it done. Now, imagine if when you said you want to be the book midwife, for example, you just pick one thing without considering all the possible options. What would happen is that you'll be leaving a lot of opportunities on the table without even knowing that you are leaving a lot of opportunities on the table. So the first thing we need to first of all have is what I call an expanded focus or a wide focus, where you are taking in all that you need to take in relative to the subject you are talking about or you want to deal with in the moment. Then after you have gotten all of your options, you now come to a laser focus. There is no way you can laser focus without first of all having an expanded focus, right? So that is one, dynamics that a lot of people do not think about when it comes to the concept of, living the focused life, living the focused life, living the focused life. Yeah.
So what I hear you saying is, so you have your ISO, you have your aperture, and you have your shutter speed. So you pick like the different things. You pick what is your ISO, your aperture, your shutter speed, and it is based on that you have the image of what exactly it is that you're trying to exactly, and how you mix it to determine what you get. So you cannot,
at the end of the day,
you cannot just, for example, just shoot up your ISO. You may get a picture that is totally wide or something. And that's important in getting the right image. That want to. This is pretty interesting. I never really thought there was a concept as over focus. As when I read it, I was like, oh my god, this is what the doctor was saying about my eyes and how that gone too far and all. But yesterday I was thinking about something. I don't know. I remembered something, and if you remember, when I first started writing, which was like a thing.
By the way, sorry, this concept of over focus is also captured in a word called paradox of intention.
So that was what I wanted to talk to you about. Okay. So when I first started writing, right, and I remember. Okay, so before then, I could just write. Let me write it, and I just write it, and I'm cool. But when life showed me Pepper Small, and I said, okay, I need to start charging for this. This is what I felt like that was my bread and butter, and I was taking it for granted. And then someone pays me to write. I will now get stuck.
I remember you said that.
Yes, I said like twice to you. Like I'll just have something. I can't write. As in, I just feel, and it was what I saw when you talked about the paradox of intention. I want to read a portion of that. And so there are times when we get so consumed with things we want to do to the point that we start feeling clogged. Right? And you talked about a day after my birthday in 2014, I got a call from one of my clients asking that I come facilitate a training the following day. I sat at my table ready to piece my thoughts together, but none was coming. The more I thought about the topic, the more difficult it got for me to write anything. And the more I wrote, the more I deleted. I gave up writing my own thoughts and went to the internet to search for materials related to the topic. So I just stopped that there. Like, you experienced this before. You had a job to do, and then it was just like blank screen. Tell us about that.
It actually happens to the best of us, and that is why the concept of paradox of intention is very powerful, very powerful. So, so take for instance, let me just give this thing that happens to a lot of people. So when they say to you that, okay, let me use what happens to us as kids as an example. So when you are playing with your friends, you can recite 2 times 2, 4, 4 times, and you can complete the entire multiplication table. But the moment a teacher calls you to come into the classroom and do the same thing, what generally happens is that you shut down, and it's almost like, is it not the same person that was chanting this thing outside that they're asking you to come and do it now? You can't. The reason is not because.
Let me make you laugh. I remember one time I was auditioning to be in the choir, and then when I got to the front, I got to the front and then sing song, no song. I'm listening to you.
Yeah. So, and you're wondering that is it not the same kid that was, chanting the multiplication table outside that couldn't produce it? The reason is because in our minds, we draw a line of distinction between when something is being done for play, for pleasure, and when it's being done for work. So when we get into that zone of, hey, this is serious, most of the time, if you have not gained mastery around it, your mind would be working too fast that will shut down. It's almost like when the system is being overworked, it will just keep timing out, shutting down. So that's what happens. So paradox of intention says that, pretend as though you don't want to achieve that goal. Pretend as though you don't want to write. Say, this thing I want to do, I'm not doing it seriously. One of my friends will tell me today that the presentations I prepare for, they sound too serious and unrelatable, like the presentations I don't prepare for. The reason is simple. The moment you get into that phase of, this is serious work, I want to give it everything, knock it off the park, you get into that place and sometimes it doesn't work. The way to get stuff done is to just, let's just go and play about this thing. Let's just take it chill, let's be chilled about it. Sometimes you can even say, I'm not even doing this thing again, and in that moment of giving up on doing it, you just start doing it. So take for instance, a lot of people that want to write books, for example, some people would have to even use this principle of paradox of intention, because the moment they sit down at their table, they start racking their heads, researching. In fact, sometimes the more you research, the more you lose the ingenuity of your own thoughts. So take for instance, for me now, if I have to work on any proposal, any presentation whatsoever, my first point of call is not to go on the internet. My first point of call is just to start typing whatever comes to my mind. And 90% of the time, by the time I finish typing what is on my mind, I go to the internet to check. I will see that what I've written is as good as what is on the internet, or even better sometimes. The reason is because I did not get into that frame. So for people that might want to write books, they might want to research into this concept of paradox of intention and even begin to leverage it to get their books out. Because sometimes the way to achieve a goal is to act as though you don't want to achieve it.
So yeah, just being like, I don't want to achieve it. I don't want to achieve it. And then the idea then comes to you, and then you're like, I'm writing, and then I start writing, and then everything just disappears on you again. How long does it take to actually get yourself to a place where you are not haunted by this paradox of intention? Because I know, like, several times I struggle with this several times. Now I don't. Maybe I've not gotten something that gets me. No, I don't actually. But I remember it being scary. Like when I conquer it, and then the next one, I'm like, I get stuck again, and I'm like, why? Well, and it's really hard because in my brain, I'm trying to get in there. So how long does it take to actually get yourself in a flow?
I think the most important thing is to practice. The more you practice with these things, the more fluid you become about it. The more you experiment, the more you get better at it, and the more you trust yourself, the more you are able to produce. Because if you don't trust that you have it, you will not be able to produce it. A lot of people don't trust that they have their message. A lot of people don't trust that they have this content already. A lot of people don't just trust themselves, to be able to produce these things out of themselves. And that's why they get into that state of dryness, But if you trust yourself that you have it, just sit down with your laptop and just play away, just capture it, just type it as though. Don't think about, just think about it that I just want to capture my thoughts, somebody like you who can help you sequence it later, and stuff like that. I think the most important thing when it comes to writing a book is just sit down, enjoy yourself, and just capture your thoughts. The same thing that has been running in your head over and over again. Just pick your answer. Take for instance, when I want to write, that's why the other day we were talking about content calendar, and I'm like, I find it difficult to use a content calendar because the moment I'm approaching writing from that serious perspective, it just sounds somehow. Do you understand? But if I just wake up in the morning and I say, okay, I want to write a post, what am I going to write on? And then I pick a topic. I'm not thinking about it before, and I just start typing. Before I know what is happening, one page is full. I'm on the second page, and no, this is becoming too long. Let me shorten it. So, and that's the way it works for me. That level of fluidity, which comes essentially from a place of trust in myself, that anytime I need to produce a script, I have what it takes to produce it. So from that place, it just keeps flowing, and I just keep writing.
I think that's really essential, to trust yourself and trust that you have your message, you know your message, and you are capable enough to be able to express that message.
Yeah.
What has been one of the most interesting feedback you've gotten from people reading your book, from learning these concepts from your book? What would you say?
I remember that maybe in the first 1 or 2 weeks of releasing the book, a particular lady, purchased the book, and maybe I even go to, maybe I'll even see what she said, and she was like, the way that, of course, I didn't even know her, she was just like, the way this person, the ideas in this book is just totally different from what I've ever heard before. And I'm just curious to experiment and see the result I'm going to get. And 3 weeks later, she reached out to me to send me a DM to say, I experimented with the things you shared in this book, and they are super amazing. Immediately she signed up for a proper one-on-one coaching program, and she's been a very good friend since that time. I remember I remember a lot of people had amazing feedback about, because one good thing about the book is that for every chapter of it, there is a workbook, or there is something that you use in between your learning from that chapter.
So it's practical.
So it's very practical. And another feedback that I got from people was also the stories that that each of the chapter carried, that brought the learning points into practicality of how it applies in people's lives. So because I'm a coach, it was easy for me to bring out people's experiences, as a basis for the principles that I was talking about. So it wasn't just an expression of a principle, it was also, looking at it through the lens of how people have applied, not just myself, but a lot of my coaching clients, and how it has helped them. And in fact, the truth of the matter is that after I wrote that book, that was what led me into creating the Focus Life framework, so, and all of my work since 2015 has been built on that foundation, up to now.
Pretty interesting. I think one of the things I wanted to buttress on what you said really is the power of storytelling, and how it makes it vividly expresses a thought or an idea for people to be able to grasp. And that was that's one of the style you use in your books, to be able to share stories, learning, and draw lesson points for people to get what it is you're trying to express. Because I can tell you something, but I can tell you a story, and from the story you can easily see that this is what you're talking about, and be able to apply that also in your life.
Life. Yep.
Yeah. So hopefully we get more stories from people. Maybe we can have a Focus Life Part 2, the the story saga or something. Really, well, thank you so much. It was a lovely time talking with you. Really loved every moment of it. So tell us how we can get your book.
Oh well, as of now, the book is out of stock. In terms of hard physical copy, but we're working on reproducing. Midwife, book midwife here is helping. Yeah, actually, when you call somebody a book midwife, you know that all that they do is trying to help you birth your book. Interesting. Let me quickly share this. One of the things I say to people is that we make a lot of fuss about Loin's children.
About what?
We make a lot of fuss about our Loin's children, and we trivialize our brain children. A lot of people find it easy to abort their brainchild, but we say it's not okay to abort a Loin's child. In my own head, the same way we rave about not aborting your child, your pregnancy, that's the same way we're supposed to be raving about not aborting your brain children. A lot of people have aborted their brain children, and it's always beautiful. It's always beautiful when you have somebody that is positioned the same way we have midwives for giving birth to children, that is positioned to help you birth your brain, your brain children by way of books and all that. And I think that is something that is really amazing that you're doing, with your brand and with the work that you do.
Thank you.
Because one of the things I say to people is that nobody calls a mother after an aborted child. Nobody calls a mother after a child that did not live. You only call people after the child that they delivered. So a lot of people have missed out on their brand and identity today simply because they did not give birth to their grandchildren, and I think and I think it's an amazing work that you're doing. So yes, back to your question. One of the things that the book midwife is helping me do right now is to put my book, on online platforms where you can access it from any part of the world, either as a soft copy or as an hard copy. Is it an or a now? You are the guru on that. Yeah.
As you said in Nama, but focus just kicked it.
That will just lead you to analysis paralysis before
I'm telling you.
Yeah. So that's what's up. But if you want it, you can always reach me through Instagram at Boluwatife David, and we'll arrange for how you can get it delivered to you here in Nigeria. But if you want it outside of Nigeria, you're going to be relying on our online platform to get it.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for honoring us. So you've heard it from the guru himself. Do get a copy of the book. It's for a token, and it's available. It's going to be available on Amazon. It's going to be available on different online platforms. So, be sure to click subscribe, comment, tell us what you learned from this video, and remember to tune in next week. Until next time, thank you for coming in. This is Storybook Series. Bye-bye.
Bye.